champion and #1 pound-for-pound fighter Demetrious Johnson released a statement Monday saying the UFC's mistreatment and bullying has forced him to speak out. Now, some of his concerns include a lack of pay-per-view points, which would significantly increase his fight purse. He feels he's been forced into matchups that don't benefit him, says those matchups have later been switched against his wishes. He also cites what he sees as the UFC's inability to market him and the flyweight division properly as major complaints. All right, of course, I'm now joined by Kenny and DC here. Guys, do you think that DJ is out of line with his complaints?
Well, I don't pretend to know the whole situation between Demetrious Johnson and the UFC. I do think that some of his complaints are valid, but I also feel like, you can do a lot more to market yourself and also to take certain fights and be that guy that's going to go out there and fight whoever it is. And as the champ, that's a part of his responsibility as well. Now, I do think some of his points are valid. I think that he has every right to be upset about some of those things. I don't think anybody likes the feeling of being bullied or doing something that you don't want to do, but he's been around a long time, and I'd like to see him take the biggest fight possible.
I feel like he does that. I feel like he does take the fights that they tell him to fight. I feel like he is the guy that's there whenever they call on him. DJ is by far the most active champion in the UFC. Now, you have to have it. There's more to just being good to getting pay-per-view and everything else. I think the responsibility for everything can be shared between Demetrious and the UFC. The UFC doesn't really understand how to market him because they have to get creative. He's smaller. He's not the biggest guy. He's dominant. Even when Anderson Silva was the guy that was running through the division, his points weren't very high. So they have to get creative. I don't know if they've gotten creative, but I do believe that DJ has done his part, so he does have valid points.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. He's nearly flawless inside the octagon, and yet he's not the draw. So who do you blame the most for that? Is it the weight class? Is it Demetrious himself? Or, what is it?
Well, I think there's a few things, all right? So, one, he's small, okay? Honestly, as African-Americans, you have to market people differently. There is a different demographic, and I don't know if DJ really fits neatly into any certain one because of just his family and everything. Everything combined, you got to get tricky when marketing a small guy, especially an African-American guy. So the UFC doesn't really know how to do that yet with him. But both of them, you have to have it. Ronda Rousey and those people, that happened organically. And it just doesn't connect. It hasn't connected for DJ. It's not his fault only. UFC takes some responsibility in it too because they don't know how to market him properly yet.
Well,
it's interesting. In the sport of boxing, it really took a while for people to come around for the lighter weight classes as well. It's not until very recently that we see the biggest stars in boxing be the lighter weight guys. For a long time, it was always the heavyweight boxing champion. It really hasn't been the case. I think that, for Demetrious, there's a lot of things that maybe he could do in between fights to help promote himself. And I think the UFC as well. I think both of them are at fault. I think they could both do things to promote each other and get Demetrious to be the star that he should be.
Well, he's quite active on Twitch, I know that, so he is reaching a certain part of the fan base for sure. Originally, Johnson eyed a super fight with Cody Garbrandt, but he was told he had to fight Ray Borg instead, so he accepted that, and then he thought that Sergio Pettis was actually the rightful contender, so he accepted the Borg fight. Now he's told he needs to fight TJ Dillashaw in a match that he doesn't want because he fears that the career bantamweight won't be able to make 125 pounds. Kenny, what do you make of this?
Well, you know what? I think that's a fear anytime you go into a fight. You're not always sure if the guy's going to make weight. But, again, Demetrious has been around a long time. He understands that, people want to see super fights. And this is a super fight. TJ being the former champion at 135 pounds and doing what he's done in the UFC, I think that's a fight that a lot of people want to see. People want to see fights that they're not quite sure what's going to happen. And with the rest of his division, what he's done, and with the the level of the rest of the competition at flyweight, it's not going to happen. We all know Demetrious is going to walk through them. Against TJ Dillashaw, we don't.
You feel that when it's a DJ fight. You feel like at the end of the night, we know he's going to get his hand raised. In a Dillashaw fight, you don't know. We all want to be involved in the unknown. I think it's the fight to take because not only is it the biggest fight that he could have, it's also monumental in that he's trying to break that record. He does that over a former champion in a division higher. It means even more for Demetrious Johnson.
Well, and folks, we here can see TJ right now out of our eye line, so he is going to be here to answer some questions himself. Mighty Mouse, though, did say he would fight TJ Dillashaw if there were stipulation saying that if TJ misses weight, DJ will get his own show money. He'll also get TJ's purse. Do you think that the UFC should give in to these demands concerning the weight and making sure he gets there?
I think that that's a little bit excessive, you know, to say that the guy's going to fight for free. You cannot expect a guy like TJ Dillashaw, a former champion, to fight for nothing because he would still fight even if he didn't make the weight. But we're going to ask TJ. We'll ask him what he's willing to do when we do get an opportunity to talk to him.
Yeah, I don't know if it should really be that much of a penalty against someone like TJ Dillashaw, but I think he would make the weight. I do think that Demetrious Johnson should be compensated in some way, shape, or form, whether it's pay-per-view points or something, but obviously he is unhappy. I think he should be compensated.
You know, he just wants money. I say you want UFC, you want Demetrious Johnson to fight TJ Dillashaw, give him the money. Pay him $1 million and say that's your fight. I know it's a lot for a 125-pounder. The guy's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Pay him the money and then let him go take the fight. That's all he wants is the money. Pay him as the #1 fighter in the world for once.
And we may still see Cody versus TJ. We can't really write that whole fight off yet, but who then would you like to see Demetrious face next quickly?
TJ Dillashaw.
It's Dillashaw. That's the fight that needs to happen. That's the one that needs to happen.